Summer is upon us, and with warmer weather comes social gatherings, camping, outdoor activities, and for many, festivals. Our very own Sam is heading to Electric Forest to kick off her summer of music. But before she does, she's going to take us on a deep dive into the lore behind the forest. Festivals and music have been a staple of American summers for decades. 30 years after Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel, New York hosted Woodstock for the first time, Woodstock 99 was born. Rome, New York became the hotspot of the summer. Thousands of cars lined up for miles just to get to the old airstrip on Griffiths Air Force Base. What was supposed to be an honorary 30th anniversary celebration in honor of the first Woodstock turned into disaster. Music, love, and peace turned into anger, riots, and assault. What happened ended up being one of the worst festival disasters in the history of New York, possibly the entire United States. Welcome to Who Are You? Curious Stories of Family Lore. I'm Wietze.
And I'm Sam Ivy.
And this is episode, I don't know, this should just be a running joke.
38, I think.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Let's find out. It is 38.
Hey.
And everybody who knew that before we did,
Thank you.
congratulations. I have 4 more days left of work. And then my birth, and then summer, because I love having summers off. So the post that we did last week, piggybacking off of the birthday episode, we got a couple people to share their birthday traditions,
which was so dope. Dope.
One of them was the every year on a birthday, it didn't specify, just that they would go to the graves of babies from their family line that died young and leave them toys.
Mm-hmm.
So on the baby's birthdays, they celebrate the I think is what it was, the birthdays of babies or young kids who died in their family line, no matter how far back they go. They leave toys and cookies.
Little trinkets and things. Yeah.
And there's something about that makes me appreciate birthdays, makes me be like, wow, imagine not having them because you didn't get to live.
It's also that appreciation of your ancestral line, It is showing that you didn't even know them, but because they're part of your lineage, you're still showing them respect and paying them homage and keeping their memory alive. Because I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to their fear of death and the inevitable, is that everybody's fear is the fear of being forgotten. Because not saying everybody needs to be famous or have their names out there in lights and shit like that, but nobody wants to think about when they die that no one's going to visit them. They're just going to be in the ground with a stone getting fucking, growth of the weeds around it and forgotten. And I feel like that's a big fear that people don't realize when they say they're afraid of death. I don't think they're afraid of dying. They're afraid of what happens after, the unknown.
Yeah. And also you mentioned the fear of being forgotten. This is you just reminded me, there are people out there that go to grave sites that have been abandoned or forgotten, and they clean them.
Or the John Does and Jane Does that don't have names because they haven't been identified.
Yeah. And they clean their graves. That is such an ancient, sacred, tradition, routine, ceremony. It's something that we do because we have been doing it since before we had written language, before we had
it's instilled in everybody's DNA.
Yes, and it's something that we inherently were created with, this longing to remember. So thank you for those of you who shared. There were a couple more that I didn't post because the story expired before I saw them, so I'm sorry. So if you really do want to share with us, please email us at wrupodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. Instagram's really our home base. Everything else is kind of just trickled in because nowadays you have to have 30 different platforms to be seen. And we do the bare minimum because this is not about a social media presence. This is not about being the best video editor or the best post maker. I do not feel like
out there or anything like that. This is
but,
just
and I don't feel like making content to fit the format of something that is unnatural. Like it
we
is
don't like to fit in
unnatural.
boxes, dude. Like we're not here to put ourselves in boxes. That's what this whole podcast is about, is who are we? We are not your fucking sheep that just follow in a herd. We
Yeah.
are the herd leaders. Like we are the ones that make our own decisions and our own definitions, our own
Well,
box shapes.
life is not meant to be lived in small, segmented, quick fix videos. We are not meant to be your entertainment for 30 seconds or less before you flip to the next. We are here to sit with you, to spend time with you while you are living your life in whatever flow you want to, whatever box you're breaking out of. So no, you're not going to find little shorts anymore on our social media. We did that for a while and I stepped back and I was like, this isn't us.
No.
We don't need a TikTok. I'm not going to be making little videos of us dancing to trends.
It's not our generation. It's not our generation, dude. We grew up with the generation before we even had phones and before we did that. Like we grew up before you got caught with that shit. So I feel like that's a little bit of our DNA instilled in us. And I feel like that's also why we go off so many different topics, is there's no pressure to stick with there's no pressure to stick with like in the guidelines. You know, it's not like, okay, cool, like we are this strictly crime, so we're gonna talk about all this crime. Like, no, like yeah, there are times where like, yeah, I deep dive, but there's times where I want to talk about happy shit and good times and
yeah. Yep. And I just think it's really cool to see not even a fan base. I don't want to say that. A family, a group of people that decided, you know what? I like to listen to them talk. I like their stories. Every person who listens to us, they know your grandma. They know what happened. They know that she wanted to be taxidermied as a remote stand because she was a badass motherfucker, right?
That's such
Everybody
a wild
knows
thought.
that. That becomes their lore too. That's now something they could just be like, I heard this about this awesome badass woman named Shirley. This is what she wanted. Like they might share that over a campfire at the electric forest that maybe they're also going to. Like, which leads us into our actual topic today.
Yeah.
We could go on, but I think it's important to sit with it and talk about it because you and I have had a lot of conversations off the mic. And we wanted to have one on the mic about it.
Hell yeah, because we're very appreciative of it. At the end of the day, we didn't do this for any fame. We did this for a digital diary for ourselves to have these stories to listen to. Honestly, I did it in case I ever went senile and I needed a reminder of being like, oh shit, like yeah, this was my life. These were my stories. Because big Notebook fan, and thinking about like how he read the stories to her to keep their memory alive. Like this is my version of that.
God.
This is my version of that.
Destroy me. I completely forgot that's how that movie. Oh my god,
dude.
The Notebook ruined me. Nicholas Sparks for like a decade of my life gave me every single possible emotion.
He'll probably hate the fact that I'm sharing this, and after this I'll get into Electric Forest, but this also involves Christopher, my boyfriend. But yeah, he one night came upstairs and I put on the Notebook, and I've seen it so many times, so I put it on to go to sleep. So like I'm sitting there watching it, and I roll over and go to sleep, and he gets in bed. I'm thinking he's gonna pass out. He watches the whole movie and wakes me up at the end. So I turn the TV off and goes, Sam. I said, what? He goes, that was really good, but really sad. And I was like, I'm sorry. And then I turned it off. And then the next morning, he was like, what was that? I was like, that was Nicholas Sparks, The Notebook, baby. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, it's a great movie. He goes, it was. He goes, but it was really sad.
He just spent all night laying in bed, having an existential crisis, unbeknownst to him, because he innocently walked in
like right at the beginning
Notebook.
Too. It was like right at the carnival scene. So speaking of Christopher, so when I first started like hanging out with him and stuff, he was really into festivals. He just took a hiatus right when I met him. His notorious festival he loved going to was Electric Forest. And me being a noob into it, and I know I've talked about festivals before, and I probably have mentioned this in the previous episodes about festivals, but I've always wanted to go to Electric Forest. Like he always wanted to go back, but tickets are expensive, and the lineup has never been so like good that I wanted to sink my teeth into to like I have to go until this year's lineup came out and he made it happen. I'm actually going next week to Electric Forest, which happens to
Which
be in,
is so exciting.
yeah, which is in Michigan. So because of that, I decided to, do a little research into like how it originated, like what started Electric Forest. Like because of it being literally in the woods, it's in like the woods, they call it Sherwood Forest. There's all these art exhibits and it's like, installments and scavenger hunts and there's so many stages and like I have never been there, so I have no idea what I'm walking into. So I will take all the pictures and make sure we share it on social media so you all can experience. But if you want to take a look, you can look up Electric Forest. You could just type it in on Instagram and it'll pop up and you can look at their page and it'll have all the videos of showing you like previous years and things like that if you want to kind of get a layout of it.
Oh yeah. We can link it in the show notes too for anybody on a streaming service.
But getting into it, so the Electric Forest was not originally named Electric Forest. It didn't get that name until a few years later after starting. It was originally named the Rothbury Festival because it's in Rothbury, Michigan. And the first Rothbury Festival was held in 2008 at the Double JJ Resort, is what it said.
And when you first said Rothsbury, I thought you said Raw Fairy. So I thought you said the name of it was the Raw Fairy Festival at first. And my brain was like, oh, that makes sense. And then you said Rothsbury, New York.
So it's Roth, like
not New York, Michigan.
Yeah, it's Roth, like moth. So Roth, and then Bury, but Bury. So Rothbury.
Oh, Rothbury. Here we're doing the name thing again. Oh my God. With me and names. This is what, the fourth time? Okay, I got it now. We're getting better. Rothbury.
Yep.
Not
Michigan.
Rothbury.
Yep.
Michigan, not New York. Holy goddamn. I'll be quiet now.
So the first festival was held in 2008. It was held on July 3rd through the 6th. Fun fact about the first year, it saw about 30,202 people in attendance.
That's a lot of people.
Dude, wait till I tell you how many's coming this year. So I'm gonna I'll tell you that when we get to it. But first year, that's how many, right? Keep that in mind. The spark of the idea came from Philip Blaine and Jeremy Stein on the side of a stage during Crystal Method at Rothbury. Then Phil brought this vision to Insomniac, which is an event company. And they, got the whole Rothbury Festival going. The lineup for the first year included artists such as Disco Biscuits, Lotus, 311, Diplo, Dave Matthews Band, John Mayer, Kobe Calais.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I freaking used to love Kobe Calais. What year was this again?
2008.
Okay. So this is relatively new.
Yeah, like new. I mean, new-ish. Yeah,
almost
it feels
years.
new, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I know.
Sorry.
I feel
that's
old.
Crazy. that is. I was like, that's not that long ago, and then I'm like, it's actually whoa. So.
Yeah,
crazy.
But they even had collaborations with the String Cheese Incident, aka the Grateful Dead, and then they also had Fish involved as well.
A lot of similarities in artists involved in the history of festivals.
Oh yeah. Well, so then that was first year, right? So then you move on. They had the second year in 2009. Those dates were July 2nd through the 5th. They decided that year that they were going to expand because they're like, man, the first year was a great hit. We're going to keep it, still the Rothbury Festival. They were originally unsure if the second year would even happen though, because there was concerns over ownership of the ranch that they were hosting at, and the potential sale of the festival grounds. So it wasn't until a federal bankruptcy judge cleared the way for the lease of the festival property between the bankruptcy trustee and the AGE. So like they were able to go to court, get everything settled, and get a good fucking payment to get second year rolling. So then it kind of had similar artists to the first year, so I didn't really write the artist name down. Then you rolled in 2010, and the festival decided to take a hiatus. They just had to get things lined up, finance situation, stuff like that. So it was expected to return in 2011. So then 2011 comes around, and the dates for that was June 30th through July 3rd. And that is when the festival came back, but they came back rebranded and renamed as Electric Forest. So Electric Forest was co-founded by Pascal Rotella.
And this was what year again for when they
2011.
Okay, so it did take a couple of years. So there were 3 years before it became Electric Forest?
Because they took a hiatus in 2010. So they did 2 years of the Rothbury Festival, but they took a hiatus. And then when they came back, it was branded as Electric Forest.
Wow. Did it say why they took a hiatus?
Because of all those property issues that they were having. It was all about just trying to find the right partnerships and, getting everything going and brand it properly for it to be a festival that popped off.
Just to secure for the future, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so Electric Forest was co-founded by Pascal Rotella. He was the founder and CEO of Insomniac, the event company that originated with the idea and partnership. And then it also had Madison House, Jeremy Stein, CEO. They also had the String Cheese Incident that acted as a hosting band, performing 3 shows each year, more than any other performer. So in 2011, what was really cool was the lineup included artists that was Pretty Lights, Skrillex, Lettuce, and Papadozio. So it started taking more of that kind of dubstep, like wubby vibe.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't heard some of these names in a while. Like Skrillex. Oh my gosh, I used to love Skrillex around this time too.
And I'm pretty sure this was the year that Chris went. Because I remember him talking this was it might have been his first year of Forest.
Oh, that's a good year to go.
The first year, yeah. But yeah, so since 2011, Electric Forest has continued on to current years. With it, being held this year on June 25th through the 28th. Me and Chris just looked it up this morning. There is at least 70,000 people in attendance this year because it's sold out.
Holy shit. Is it in the same place that it's been every year?
Same spot. They just expanded more and more each year. Whoa. But it's still in the forest, so it's not like they're cutting shit down when it comes to expanding. It's all natural. It's modern day Woodstock.
That's cool. Oh, the fact that you just said modern day Woodstock will lead us into our second one in a little bit, but yeah, I'd argue it's probably not it's what a modern day Woodstock should have been.
It's what the Woodstock out of the 90s failed to do, but the EDM community has been able to take and expand and thrive. And fun fact is Hula, the festival that I've gone to, the quantity for Hula that attend is 20,000. So
whoa.
So that's what I'm used to because it's literally Electric Forest's little brother festival because it's also done by String Cheese and the Grateful Dead.
Okay. But that's crazy though how much bigger Electric Forest is than Halloween.
Yes. So I have no idea what I'm getting into, but I can say that the event has continued to grow and expand, touching the souls of all those who participate and developing the minds of our modern day flower children. And I can't wait for it to develop mine.
So it is kind of that time, flower children, modern day flower children.
No, I'm excited because your story, I actually have a tie-in that's kind of a funny, ironic thing that could have happened but didn't happen. So
yes,
because I know a lot about this topic because I fucking
chime in at any point because basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some knowledge about Woodstock 99, and the reason I know that a lot of people probably know about this because of the documentary on Netflix. And it goes over what happened in a general sense. I'm from Oneida, New York, and Rome, New York is where my Aunt Dee and my cousin Lou lived. And I went to Rome all the time. I had a friend who lived in Rome, a few friends who lived in Rome. When I played field hockey, we went to Rome. to kick their asses. Remember that. I'm just kidding. I don't even know how many times we kicked their ass. I just remember once winning. But I was only on field hockey for 2 years, and it was in middle school, so it barely counts. But anyways, this is something that I remember, like, being in the car and having the traffic be a super big inconvenience because I wanted to go to the drive-in movie theater, which was in Rome, New York. So I'm choosing. This happened because you're going to Electric Forest, and you did an episode on the history of festivals. So if you guys haven't listened to that, you can get more, if you're interested, more information there. And I'm scrolling now to see what episode that was.
That was in the early episodes.
Yeah. It
like
was.
In October.
It might have been before you went to Halloween.
Yeah, as I'm saying, like in October, because Hulu's in October.
Yeah. Where are you? I thought I was going to find it faster than this. The Soundtrack That Makes Us is the name of the episode. So it's episode 12. The Soundtrack That Makes Us. And it's actually from December. Yeah, we are talking about raves in the history of festivals. So that was episode 12. And I learned a ton from you in that episode. So if you guys are interested and you're going to a bunch of festivals this summer and you want to know a little bit more about why and how they started,
culture.
Yeah, check those out. And we're going to talk now about Woodstock 99. So I mentioned that it took place in Rome, New York, which is really close to Oneida, New York. And 99 was supposed to be the 30-year anniversary from the original Woodstock. And the original Woodstock was in New York. It was close to Woodstock, New York, but it was actually called Bethel. And it was on a farm owned by or used by, not totally sure, Max Yasgur. And that's the guy that kind of started it. I didn't deep dive into the history or the establishment of Woodstock. But what I did look at was Woodstock 99 and the prices and things like that, and then some of the shit that happened. So this was supposed to be the 30-year anniversary celebrating Woodstock. There had been like a Woodstock 94, and there was a Woodstock after this as well, 10 years later, Woodstock 09 must have been, and that was back in Bethel, New York, and apparently that went a lot smoother. It wasn't like this one. So ticket prices to go to this event were $150, which is a lot of money in 1999. So I'm going to read all the lineup for every night, or most of them. The thing about it was you went there and there was security. Their off-duty New York State troopers were working the guards. So I was aware that there was this big festival going on. I'm like 8 years old. There's this big ass festival. I'm not really thinking too much of it because I'm more worried about the fort wars going on in the woods behind our house with all the neighborhood kids, worrying that my fort that I just built is going to get destroyed. But meanwhile, the festival's going on in a different field, not even a woods. So there were 2 main stages and then like a smaller stage off to the side, and that was really it. The difference that really stood out to people who were there, and I'm going to read a personal experience from a kid who was like 9 or 14 at the time. I think he was 14 because he also went to Woodstock 94. So I'm going to read that, but that'll be later. So the original Woodstock was very much there was not corporate involvement. It was actually kind of a revolt against the corporation and mainstream. So it was a celebration of peace and love and, counterculture. And that was not really what was happening at Woodstock 99. For example, they had set up a mini mall inside the perimeter of Woodstock 99, and they provided ATMs so that you could get money out to buy things. And then there was even a post office. So you could go and you could mail things from Woodstock 99. So you could buy things and mail them out so they wouldn't get stolen or whatever the case was, because the conditions in this place were disgusting. So you couldn't keep, like, we'll get into it a little bit, we'll get into it. The acts, some of the main acts hired to work or perform here were Bush, Live, Creed, Metallica, Alanis Morissette, Dave Matthews Band again, Dabblin', Red Hot Chili Peppers, Black Eyed Peas, but interestingly enough, at this time, Black Eyed Peas were just starting, so they were on a little side stage. No one really were paying attention to them, which is crazy because then they rose, and Fergie went off and did her own thing for a while there, and Big
That's
Girls
sick. I didn't
Don't
know
Cry
that.
fucked me up. Big Girls Don't Cry fucked me up. When she dropped that song,
Dude,
oh
that was
my
my
God.
little sister's favorite song. Like how my song was Jesse's Girl, that was her song growing up.
Oh, I get your sister. Man, I was sitting there crying to that song and I'd be like, but I'm a big girl. Fuck. It's such a hard thing for me to grapple with. So I was like, I'm crying, but I'm a big girl. Anyways, so Fergie's over there doing her thing with the band, but no one's really paying attention. Another thing that really pissed me off that I read about, and I remember people complaining about this, like, I must have been like on the local news or something because I didn't know anybody who went. Brad's sisters were supposed to go, but didn't for some reason. We're going to have them come on at some point and they're going to tell us a ton of stories and that will be looped in there as well. But you got to hear it from them because the way that they tell their stories is just the best, better than I could do. So the day of the festival, it was 100 degrees and humidity was insane. Like the days, because this went on for multiple days, unfortunately, for everybody involved. And what they would do is they were supposed to be checking for like drugs and weapons through security, but instead they were not really paying too much attention to the drugs and weapons that were probably and most certainly entering the festival. But they were taking away water and drinks and food and anything that you could survive on that would prevent you from purchasing things from their mini mall and their overpriced vendors. In 1999, which is when this takes place, the average cost of a slice of pizza, like around, was $3, which is that was the average, $3. This is like for a big slice, a big like New York style pizza slice. You're going into the pizza shop and they have them on those spinning racks. They're probably about $3 national average. They were charging $12 for a slice of pizza at Woodstock 99. That is astronomically.
That's outrageous, dude.
Yeah. And when I say $3 national average, that's the higher price. And that doesn't take into accountability that a lot of places were still doing dollar slices too. Like that was still a pretty common practice. They could have sold dollar slices at this festival and still made so much fucking money. But instead they charged $12. And then for a bottle of water at first started off at $4. But then as the days went on and the heat got higher and food got more scarce and water got more scarce because they were underprepared, they brought the prices up. So it got to $6. Some people said that they paid $12 for a bottle of water that was warm because they were out of ice. And then to top it all off, there was a mud wrestling pit and people were having fun and wrestling and having a good time. But really, what was happening is nobody was changing out anything happening in those porta potties and they were just overflowing because it also rained and was really wet and disgusting. And so people were just rolling around in shit and piss and it smelled awful, but people were also on drugs. So they probably weren't really paying attention. Gross. And the other problem was you were allowed to like leave and come back in. I think you had like a wristband or something. So the argument was, oh, you can just go get food in Rome. Well, motherfuckers, Rome had a drive-in movie theater. It had a couple fast food restaurants, a lot of small businesses, and maybe a grocery store. I don't even know if in 1999 it had a grocery store. We only ever went to Rome to visit family and to go to the drive-in movie theater, RIP drive-in movie theater, they never should get rid of that. It was the best thing about Rome. So long story short, was not equipped to deal with the amount of people coming in for this disaster of a festival. So they just couldn't really handle it. So there was nowhere to go to get food in town. So I am now going to talk about some of the like violent stuff that happened, because at this point the festival is, there are acts, those musical acts are on stage, but as the day went on, like the crowds got more violent and aggressive because they're getting hungry, they're thirsty, there's no shelter, it's gross, the conditions aren't good. Security quit the first day. Like they literally were like, the crowd is out of control, we're dipping, and they left. So now it's like people are just climbing the fences. It's a free for all. Like everyone is scared. Trigger warning. This was a rampant, wild, disgusting cesspool. And I know that there are personal experiences of people who went and said they had a great time. Good for you. You are not the women being assaulted by groups of men simultaneously during music acts. Like, I'm going to read a personal experience, and I'm not going to go too much into the things that happened, but I mean, the things that were happening, for example, when I think of Woodstock 99, oops, I just hit my mic, I think of like violence. I think of the porta potties, I'll be quite honest, because we heard a lot about that. Because
Yeah,
it was like,
most people think about like the fact that they tested the water and it came back immediately for like E. coli, and how people were getting
yeah,
sores in their mouth and shit from drinking the water because it was so infested. Like, yeah, like they definitely
yes.
associate that.
Yep, and that was on, like, I remember seeing like that on the news and the adults talking about how disgusting that was. And then also like it gave festival culture a pretty bad rep in our hometown. And I think that's why as I got older, I subconsciously avoided big festivals. I'm not even kidding. But I want to be more like, I want to go with you. That's our goal. It's even hard for me to like go to concerts though. Like the idea of being in these spaces. And I think it's because I grew up so close to where this happened and it became a pretty common knowledge thing.
Which
And
makes sense. And don't get me wrong, there's some festivals that still can definitely be that grody. Like it all depends on the environment you go into, the crowd that shows up as well. And but like I can speak from my experience, like going to Seven Stars, like that was one of the most cleanest festivals I went to because of the community being so big. Like they said like there was no trash on the ground. Everybody picked up, like everybody took care of each other. Same with Hula, like they always have a truck going around that sprays down the porta potties twice a day and cleans them out, refreshes them, so you don't really have to worry about like that. Like don't get me wrong, like there's still times where
yeah.
like you walk in, there's shit on the seat. It happens. But it's not like sitting there where shit's like overflowing and like things like that. Like
Yeah, like
experience is different, but
yeah, when it's done right, it can be beautiful. But like the key you just said is community. This was not a festival built on community. I think the
well, they fucked up from
intentions,
the start with the lineup. Like you got to
right,
think about like
right,
every festival I go to has similar artists. So therefore
right.
I'm gonna have similar experience. You know, I listen to more rhythm and more, you know, funky and more like soulful and, you know, things like that. And, you know, I'm not saying all communities, like, you know, if you listen to certain music, it's gonna be a violent community. No, it depends on who it brings though. And if you're going there and you're gonna listen to aggressive music, know that there's gonna be somebody fucked up on something that's gonna get that spark of aggressiveness. And don't get me wrong, that happens at
Yes.
festivals too. And
Right,
I've
and
seen
it's
it
okay.
happen.
Like it is okay
I'm saying it's
to,
more likely to happen if you're going to provoke yourself by putting yourself in that, immersing yourself in that environment.
yes, but it is okay to like go to like shows with like with mosh pits and
Oh,
with
don't get me wrong, I love that
everybody.
too. Like me and you
Right,
went
and
to
I
fucking
know.
mosh to like some 41. Like, you
Fuck
know,
yeah.
like
But it's like it's when you have that and that's the core of the lineup, and then these emotions don't stop when the song ends. And then also I'm
and
going
they're
to talk
pissed off
about this
about the
too.
environment too. You gotta think about it too. If
Mhm.
you treat your community well, if you gave them good priced food, if you gave them
Mhm.
good water, they wouldn't be angsty. You made them angsty and then gave
Mhm.
them music empowerment to make them and gave them fire.
Little fire. Literally, they handed out candles that was supposed to be honorary to, like, everybody was supposed to light a candle to stop gun motherfucking violence, which, by the way, since this has happened, we have had so many school shootings, so many children have died.
But the idea was beautiful. The idea was beautiful.
Yes,
Don't get me
it
wrong. And it
was.
looked beautiful. But you're giving people that are angry, that are hot, that are delusional, that are on drugs, literal fire, and they're already pissed off at you, and you don't have any fucking authority figures. And don't
None,
get me
because they
wrong, like, the
quit the
festivals
first
I
day.
go to don't have it. Like, they have security. They don't have enough compared to the amount of people that go, but there is security presence.
Yeah, yeah. It was a toxic mix of neglect, greed, cutting corners, poor planning. Like, the land that was put on was not solid. It was marshy, it was wet, it wasn't good. The entire foundation wasn't good. So you'd mentioned how the lineup, I think that you could have a great, I don't know, actually, I was gonna say you could have a great Limp Bizkit show, but let's be serious. I don't know. I'm not a Limp Bizkit fan.
I only
I've
like
never
one song, and
been
the last time I listened to him, I totaled my car to it, so I have been avoiding it since. That was the song that was playing when I
that.
crashed my car, was fucking Limp Bizkit Break Stuff.
Oh my God. That's the song that literally set this in
Dude.
motion. Yeah. So Limp Bizkit was on Saturday, and they were playing, and like, that wasn't actually the worst catalyst, but like, Limp Bizkit saw what was going on. Well, I don't even remember his name. Do you know his name?
I don't know his name, but I know, like, he saw, like, the angstiness, and he didn't do anything to prevent it. He just added fuel to the fire. Great, he performed. He did what the artist is paid to do. And that is one of his most well-known songs.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely triggered, like, the crowd to get worse and rowdy, but like you said, he is a performer. He is being paid for what he, like, for an image, but also at the same time, use your brain. If you see, like, people getting assaulted during your set, don't encourage them to
But
then
granted,
start
there was a
breaking
lot of
things.
people there, so he probably didn't see them getting assaulted. He just saw the angstiness, and he looked at it as, he's not the peace and love artist. If you wanted the peace and love artist, you should have thrown them on. He's the type where this is the crowd, this is the energy he brings. Like,
I mean, fair. Yeah.
and it's the same
Yeah,
when you throw
that's fair.
corn out there. Like, they have a certain, like, they're not going to sit there and be like, peace and love. Like, no, that's not what they're coming out there to
Yeah.
do.
And in 99, it was not cool to be like, hey, dudes, don't fucking hate each other, bros.
Yeah,
Just
like,
get
it was
along.
the
Then
grungy punk
no one's gonna
era that
do
was
that.
like, fuck you, fuck this, anarchy, angst, like.
Yeah, and that sucks, because the people who put this festival together should have thought about the repercussions of that, definitely. But the real issue, truly, like, when everything, just the shit that was all over the ground hit the fan, and everybody went nuts after the Red Hot Chili Peppers bonfires were set, and fans in the crowd began tearing things down to get more fuel to add to the literal bonfire.
Oh, because
And
they
the
threw.
MTV camera crew and like, that was there recording it, they left. They're like, yeah, fuck this.
Well,
We don't
they
want to
threw
be here.
Red Hot Chili Peppers out there thinking they'd calm down the crowd, and instead they played their song that was like fire or something, and I got them to like ignite it more. Like, they had,
Yeah.
like, not on purpose, but that's what they played, and it's like, yo.
Yeah, that was probably not a great idea. So I want to read this paragraph here, because I think these couple of paragraphs, I'm just going to read them word for word. This is from the independent.com. And this is just kind of everything we've talked about, but I think they summarize it nice. But you can read the entire article yourself if you'd like, and we'll post it in the show notes. But as festival goers grew angrier and angrier with the conditions, the violence got worse. MTV scrapped recording Limp Bizkit's set as stones and watermelons were hurled at the tent, and they instead reported from the medical area, described as a mosh triage. Frontman Fred Durst, this is who I was thinking of, has been criticized for allegedly encouraging the crowd's animalistic behaviors. He is reported to have said, how many people have ever woken up in the morning and just decided you're going to break some shit? Before performing their song, break stuff. Like, as you said, he's paid performing. That is a good way to lead into a song called Break Shit. But again, read the room, Fred. Read the room. But anyways, Spin's
But
coverage of the...
side note, before you continue,
Yeah,
imagine going to see like Limp Bizkit. You have that notorious song, and he doesn't play it. Like that is, like I said, his top song. Like I
I'd be mad.
imagine
I'd be mad
exactly
anyway.
like
I
going to
might be
your
start
favorite
breaking
artist
shit.
and like exactly. So I'm just saying, like you can't be mad at him. You got to be mad at the producers. You got to be mad at the people that set it up and that put everything in line because you didn't plan it out properly.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Yeah. And then you don't need to take what he's saying literally either. And that's a lot of people say, like, yeah, but the crowd took it literally and they broke arms, legs, teeth, noses, collarbones. Scalps were lacerated by flying half-full bottles. One mosher suffered a compression fracture of the spine. Another broke 2 ribs and prodded the medical treating him to finish quickly so he could return to the pit. The crowd even gathered wood from the broken fence and catapulted both people and wood in the air as the set continued. And then what happens with the fire? And this is again word for word from this website, and what can only be described as a heated finale to the weekend was from hell. The enraged crowd, as, quote, dangerous as they were vulnerable, quote, this whole thing's, quote, brought the chaotic festival to a ferocious end. After, this is what we mentioned, 100,000 candles for anti-gun violence vigil were handed, sorry, I wanted to emphasize that, were handed out without the knowledge of the fire marshal either. So, if the fire marshal had been notified or warned, could have been on standby or at least tried to discourage said behavior, but they weren't. So they were used to start huge fires in the crowd. Trucks and tankers and even a Mercedes were set ablaze, while the Red Hot Chili Peppers covered Jimi Hendrix' quote-unquote fire. Oh, it was Jimi Hendrix. That's what you were mentioning. So they covered. So yeah, they saw what was going on. They're like, how can we? There's some fire in
And
the crowd.
honestly, like coming from an artist perspective, like if they were so shitty when it came to treating the people, imagine how shitty they treated the artists. So like at the end of the day, like yeah, you're trying to calm down the crowd, but it's also like fuck you Woodstock '99 and those who produced it because you're probably not even treating the artists well.
Yeah, the whole thing was just, and they may have already planned that. They may have already planned that, and you never know why they did that. I'm not going to speak for them, but like artistically, I mean, it makes sense artistically, and
It does. Like from an artist, it's like what's going on in my environment. All right, at least it's Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, and I don't think their intention was, I don't think they thought, oh, if we play this song, they're going to make the fire bigger. I think they just thought, let's make a moment out of this and play a Legends, because if he should be here, maybe, they're playing at Woodstock 99. It's supposed to be the 30th anniversary of Woodstock. Why wouldn't you play Fire by Jimi Hendrix? It's not their fault everything's going up in flames as they do it. That's not their fault. They're just making an artistic decision. Everybody has their different opinions, but at the end of the day, that's a creatively good choice. All right? So I agree. But however, the fires eventually spread to both stages and set an audio tower alight, which I remember that footage from both the Netflix documentary and also I'm pretty sure they played it like on something that I saw before that, because that brought back memories. So probably the news, I'm assuming, because that was before like I could browse the internet. So it's said that the 12-foot fence surrounding the ex-Air Force base was broken down further by crowds, not trying to get in, but desperate to get the fuck out, because now the fire was like unstoppable. So the other thing that this talks about here, which I think is really important, because trigger warning for sexual assault. With festival culture, there is this certain freedom where it should be respected that if women want to run around topless, that they should be able to, and that they should not have to be touched and groped and made to feel like they need to cover up because other people around them can't control their actions. So I want to start by that. So just because there were women dancing in circles, topless, on whatever drugs that they have the choice to take and whatever, and they're having consensual fun, that does not give people permission to then just sexually assault and grope and touch and catcall, and turn something into the most disgusting, vile thing that could be. So this article here says misogyny was rife across the festival, with a herd mentality encouraging dangerous behavior among some male attendees. Not all. There are many men there who were, I'm sure, absolutely great. And there are many women who are great, but I'm sure there were some women there being assholes too. I mean, but we're just pointing out the fact that this what we're talking about happened to be taking place, committed by, men. So demands of show your tits were shouted at female performers such as Sheryl Crow, while Limp Bizkit's set was said to have the most violence against women across the weekend. So this is the reason that I don't really like Limp Bizkit, and I think I never have, because there was, like I said, there was a whole conversation after this over and over again about this festival. So I heard talks about like what happened during Limp Bizkit's set because I heard adults talking. They weren't telling these things to me, but I remember just being like, ew, Limp Bizkit's gross. Don't like it. So, but here's why. Partially, he had a bad rap because of this. MTV reported 2 alleged gang R's in the mosh pits of headline sets as concert goers around the crime cheered her assailants on. 4 of them, those situations, were also recorded across the weekend, and a police officer working on site was suspended after he urged women to take nude pictures alongside fellow officers. Discussing accounts from the festival, YWCA Rape Crisis Director Rosemary Venero told MTV, "You hear people saying things like, when we went to sleep at night in the tent, I just heard people screaming, and they weren't screams of pleasure, they were screams of terror." So awful things were taking place at Woodstock 99. And it's
I
it's
mean, do you remember in the documentary they talked about the girl, like, when they were in, like, the bunker that was, like, the actor's bunker, and, like, she got brought out in, like, the back of a van or something?
I briefly remember that story, but what do you remember about it? Because I know it's different from what I
I
just
remember, like,
described.
they said, like, because they used to have the actors bunkers where, like, they would have, like, the DJs playing till, like, 2 or 3 in the morning, so that way it gave people something to do when they couldn't sleep. And it just said, like, as, like, the nights went on
Oh,
and, like,
yeah.
every after, like, people were just getting, like, assaulted against the walls and stuff, and I guess there was, like, one encounter where somebody said they saw, like, the back doors of this van pop open, and it was, like, 5 guys and this girl that was obviously, like, out, like, she was not, awake, just, like, in the back of the van. And that's all I remember of the story.
Yeah, that is, yeah. I
I can
just,
say from my personal experience with festivals, like, yes, I'm not gonna diminish it. I'm sure assaults still happen at the festivals I go to. I'm sure there are still, I mean, you're gonna have to take the good with the bad. There's bad people that come around in any event that you go to. You never know. But I can say something to that extent, no. Like, the community that I go to and the community that I'm with, like, if you see something like that, you step in regardless whether you know Adam from Eve. Like, it don't matter.
yeah, yeah. This
Same when
was
you see
just,
somebody intoxicated, like, even if you see somebody alone, like, sitting by themselves, like, you go to them, you either take them in or you find with their buddies, like, there's no
yeah,
last man standing.
yeah, this Woodstock 99, I think if one assault had happened, that would be bad enough. But the amount that did, it was, I mean, it gave the festival culture a bad rap, but I do think it's important to, again, keep restating. Of course, these are disgusting things. But if you go to a festival and you are a good person, and like you just said, you you see something, you say something. If the majority of the people at the festival see something and say something, you are stronger in numbers.
Yes.
If
Yes.
somebody is being assaulted and every single person who sees it grabs the assailant and beats them to a pulp, guess what's not happening?
Or holds them
Uh,
down until you can find security and have enough time.
Fine.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, maybe don't punch them because we're trying to not
I
promote
mean, go
violence.
ahead, go ahead. You can if you need to. I mean, if it helps. I'm just saying, hold them down till security gets there. But it's not even just festivals. That's life in general, dude. Don't
Yeah.
walk around in silence. Don't be afraid to speak up. If you see something happening that is not okay and not right, fucking stick up. Be a voice.
Yeah.
People will
And
follow.
go to festivals and embrace festival culture. And
But don't
I
be
think,
ignorant and be aware. Embrace it,
yes.
but don't go to an extreme. Don't put yourself in situations that can lead to bad things.
And do your research about the festival that you're
Exactly.
going to, making sure that it's well established, it's safe. What facilities do they have there? Who's funding this
And even
festival?
if you go by yourself, like there's such a good community if you go to the right ones that people will take you in. You'll go by yourself, but you will leave with the whole family that you'll have for life.
Yeah.
And it's wild and it just happens. But you can't be afraid of it. You got to give it a try. But like I said, don't be ignorant. Be aware of your
Yeah.
surroundings. There are
You gotta
bad
be
people
safe.
everywhere. It doesn't matter where
Yes.
you can be in the safest spot you think. There are
Hmm.
bad people everywhere.
As we have seen, you know, monsters walk among us. They are everywhere. So if you have seven or how many people, I don't even remember how many people were at Woodstock 99. I forgot. I looked it up. Let me find it really fast before I get into this next part because there were a lot and I should have written it down. 400,000. Then if you have 400,000 people, that is what, 40,000 of them within that trickled in that crowd have done something bad. And that's probably being
Yeah, but
nice.
no,
That's a low estimate.
but that's still like realistically speaking, and that's everywhere you go.
Yeah. It's just this sounds like a like a doom and gloom, but it's not. It's festivals, like we have said, are beautiful things, beautiful opportunities to see art, be immersed in art,
To
experience
expand your
new.
mind and growth.
Yes. As long as you go in with a group of people that you trust and you know, and you're aware of your surroundings and you're safe and you do your research and you stand up and you do the right thing if you see something going wrong, then you will be fine. And that's all you can do. And so I wanted to end with this personal story um, that goes, it talks about some of the stuff we have, but it's just a little bit of a first person perspective from somebody who was there. And then, we just end it there. So this is from 12 years ago, and this is Head Shop Honcho on Reddit. Type this. The question that was posed was, anyone here attend Woodstock 99? What was it like? Any stories from the festival? To which Head Shop Honcho replied, I was there. Went with my dad. I was 14 at the time, a little young to be thrust into that sort of culture. I actually was at Woodstock 94 at age 9 as well. But my dad's an old hippie and was pretty awesome and figured I'd see all this stuff sooner or later anyway. I remember they had converted an old aircraft hangar into one of the side stages, and the first night I was there, Friday, I saw George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic in the hangar. So that's cool as hell to just be around George Clinton. Little side note, I photographed a dispensary party in Colorado for a dispensary. I don't even remember exactly, but I became friends with one of the bud tenders there through their girlfriend, who was friends with somebody I knew through weed. So it was like this very like long strung out way that I met this dispensary owner. And did you go with me to photograph the event where
No,
George Clinton?
you wanted me to, but I was underage and they wouldn't allow me in.
Oh my God. That's right. Ah, fuck. So I went there and I photographed this dispensary and I took all these goddamn photos and I smoked like a foot long giant blunt with George Clinton and his entire band and friends, and then just a bunch of people in the dispensary industry. Oh my gosh. My friend Manny was there, and I don't remember taking pictures after we smoked that blunt. I think I just hung out with George Clinton and his parliament and fun. It was just like so fun and so just like chill. So I just wanted to throw that little thing out there. That
That's
wasn't a
dope as fuck.
festival, but I mean, he was just such a normal, chill fucking guy with some facial hair, like a teddy bear, just taking the biggest fucking rips off of a foot long blunt that I've ever seen. No coughing. Like it had no effect. But anyways, so I've seen him about 3 times since, but I was converted into a fan then and there. He came down in this big spaceship and smoked this giant blunt on stage. See, that's his thing. So he must have brought that blunt. Like that must have been his fucking blunt because that was a big blunt. That's crazy. I need to see if Manny has any pictures from that. That'd be very cool to post
Oh my
those.
God, yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, because he's better about saving pictures, which is crazy because I'm also a photographer. But here we are. The festival was a lot of firsts for me. I smoked weed for the first time at the George Clinton show with some white kids with dreadlocks. Some girls at the main stage let me feel their boobs when Brian Setzer was on stage. Kind of weird now that I think about it. Those girls were in their 20s and I was just a 14-year-old kid, but I'm almost positive they were on ecstasy. Actually, wow, that's fucked up. My dad would let me wander around for hours at a time. I have no idea why. I was a pretty smart kid, pretty responsible, but in retrospect, I get the feeling my dad was just trying to score some dope or something. We'd split up for a while and meet at our tent or something. Saw a lot of great bands, some not so great bands, and some bands I wish I had never seen. I'm looking at you, Jamiroquai. I admit, as a stupid 14-year-old kid, I was excited to see Limp Bizkit, but after their horrible dumpster fire of a set, I no longer had any shred of respect or desire to see them. The next day, the tear gas started flying. Me and my dad booked the fuck out of there. I remember the main difference between 94 and 99 was the blatant commercialization. Commercialization. It was disgusting at 99. In 94, the whole festival was a mess. Mud, disorganized masses of people, awesome music, and a much more cohesive sense of community. So at 94, there was still that sense of community. Like, I can deal with mud and grossness as long as it's not shit and piss. And if
Yeah, like
everybody there
everybody
is
can come
chill,
together and like fucking make the best of it. That's what matters.
yeah. Um, but at least the advertising was subtle and contained. At 99, there were advertisements everywhere. It was a little disillusioning. It was super fucked up because a 20-ounce bottle of water was $4. That was a booth out of a tarmac that sold. There was a booth out of a tarmac that sold slush puppies for $2.50 for the small. So I'd get one, tell them to hold the syrup, and just have some ice which melted into cold slushy water, which was nice because it got really fucking hot during the day. There was free water near the toilets, but it was piss warm, and everything within 100-foot radius of the toilet smelled like absolute shit. I would not, oh my God, drink that water. Oh my God, that makes me want to gag.
That slush puppy trick though, that was clever. Like I didn't
Yeah,
think
that's a
about
good
that.
idea.
That's smart.
That's a good idea. I didn't shit for 3 days just because I didn't want to subject myself to that sort of stench. Good for you. I saw some shit too. After George Clinton on the first night, there was this rave in the hangar. I think Fatboy Slim was there. I remember thinking, this is cool, but not really getting it because everyone was rolling. The scene was kind of fucked though. There were these girls, I mean, like hot girls, they would get up and start crowd surfing. Some of them were topless, which was cool, but it got real scary real fast. They'd get tossed around, groped, stripped of their clothes. Some of them seemed pretty terrified. Security was pretty much non-existent to control that sort of behavior, so basically there were public sexual assault going on. My dad was pissed. Yeah, you're there with your 14-year-old kid. Get the fuck out of there. That's crazy. At one point, one of these poor girls was heading our way. We were sort of towards the back of the hangar, but it was so packed. My dad grabbed her leg, pulled her down to cries of dismay from her would-be assaulters, and told me to give her my hoodie. She was topless and crying. I obliged, and we walked with her to the first aid tent. It was a really somber moment, especially since I was high for the first time in my life from George Clinton. Oh my God. So it all seems surreal. To be stoned
Jesus
off your
Christ.
ass thanks to George Clinton after that, like, just nice moment,
Yeah, and
chilling
then to
with
have to walk
George.
into that.
Oh, you're just like 14. Oh my God. That's a lot. That's a lot. She just kept saying she wanted to go home and didn't like it there. I sacrificed my favorite hoodie to that girl. I hope she was able to recover and enjoy the rest of the festival. That experience single-handedly turned me off to the rave scene before I was even old enough to appreciate it. I've never been out to a rave or rave-style party ever since, which that sucks. Because, like, I get that though,
But it
and it's
did that to a
crazy.
lot of people, like, you know,
Yeah, like
and I can understand why. I 100%
yeah,
can understand why.
yep. And like I wasn't even there. I just heard about it and I was like, ooh, that public spaces scare me. So it created a phobia, not of raves, not of festivals, of public spaces, of large, big events. So I have gone to concerts. We've gone to concerts. We're hopefully going to one together in September. Hell yeah. And I want to go to festivals. Literally, I think most of my friends love festivals. And so,
And I feel like
but
once you go and you get over, like, that fear kinda gets unlocked and, like, dissolves, you'll
yeah,
see and you'll appreciate it, you'll thrive. Like, once you get there and you have your first random person walk up to you, go, "Oh my god, you're fucking beautiful," and just look you dead in your eyes and mean it, and you'd be like, "Oh my god," like, it unlocks something in
yeah.
you, it does, it's weird.
Yes. And I want to experience that, and we will. And I think that's a testament to why you can't let these experiences like taint the rest of your life, but at the same time you can't be faulted if you choose not to, like this person here. um but they do end with like a little bit of like a positive kind of. They said the flip side of that was the more positive sexuality at the festival. There were drum circles everywhere and there were usually naked chicks dancing around, and of course these circles were always accompanied by the obligatory drunk gawkers, which was creepy, but I could tell that at least these girls were enjoying themselves and the environment around them was relatively safe. Um, and then on the ride home, my dad helped me contextualize the difference between the drum circle girls and the rave girls. I'll never forget this. He said, those girls at the rave were put on display. No one there thought of them as anything more than objects. It's disgusting in how some situations the sight of a naked woman's body can reduce men to slobbering mongoloids. You
Mhm.
can never treat women that way. But the girls of the drum circle, they put themselves on display. They were dancing for themselves. It was beautiful. You need to understand the difference.
It's
And
true, though.
that's it. That's the last thought. To just understand the difference. That it's our choice and women's choices, and festivals allow those choices to be made, and it's not the festivals in a lot of these situations that cause the problems. In Woodstock 99, yeah, it was a toxic mix of everything, but sometimes it is more so the people that can't control themselves. I think to remember that festivals are environments that welcome uniqueness, individuality, but also community. Enjoying music, new experiences, art. It's like an immersive art experience. And festivals, like we talked about, are ancient rituals of expression, gratitude, love, community, all these things, like connection, universal connection. There is always going to be bad in every situation. But like we said before, research the festivals you want to go to, prepare yourself, be aware of your surroundings, be in a safe place if you're going to try drugs, be around people that you want to and love and protect and who will protect you and care about you and that you trust. And if shit starts to go awry, get the fuck out of there. And that's
Well
it.
said, well
And
said.
protect people. So don't let
I
this
I mean, the
scour.
festival community has that saying, they got plur: peace, love, unity, and respect. Follow those
Peace,
rules,
love.
unity,
Sorry.
respect. You're good. Follow those rules and you're good. Claire, baby.
Yep. Any final thoughts for the listeners?
Honestly, like, I feel like you said, like, the best final thought, like, you wrapped it up till with a perfect little bow on top, man. I'm excited to share my experience with electric forest, but, like, don't be scared. Everybody deserves to try something, and if you try it and it's not for you, that's okay too, but at least you tried. Life is about
Yeah.
experiences. Go live.
Yep. And never stop asking yourself, who
Who
are
are
you?
you?